Hey everybody, this is Curtis Childs, Chief Visionary Officer at the Swedenborg Foundation. I'm very excited today to welcome Gina Cavalier onto our channel. She is the co-author of the book Surviving Suicidal Ideation, From Therapy to Spirituality and the Lived Experience. Gina, thanks so much for coming on the program.
Oh, it's just my pleasure to be with you and this co-creation that we're going to be doing today to educate people on the work that we're doing together.
That's so great. And it seems like it's a very important topic and one that I'm sure a lot of people are curious to learn more about. I wanted to start by just the basics. The book is called Surviving Suicidal Ideation. What is suicidal ideation?
So I myself had suicidal ideation from the age of 8 from an abusive childhood, and didn't really know what that was when you're younger, of course. As you get older, you start to understand what that suicidal ideation is. And it's kind of a repetitive pattern that whenever life doesn't feel like it is serving your needs, that you will fall into this kind of hopelessness feeling. And it can be something that there's different phases that we outline in the book. There's 5 phases that we listed out, but they can go anywhere from, repetitive suicidal thoughts to wanting to unalive yourself daily, weekly, or it could have a big pause where it only comes when there is a major life crisis, say you lost a job or lost a relationship. So it's very different for each person, can experience it in a different way, but it's this hopelessness to where nothing's going to change, and that the only way to deal with it is to make a decision that you don't belong here and to check out in a way and that's what we're here to try to help them see resources, that there's other ways that they can choose.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds really like a terribly hard thing to go through. I can see why you haven't gone through that. You would want to try to give people a way out of that. Before we get a little more into what those ways are, I'm curious, what made you want to publish this book with the Swedenborg Foundation? Why was that a good fit for it?
Well, we did receive multiple offers on this book when we sent it out, and we chose Swedenborg Foundation for a few different things. But for me personally, a part of my healing journey was a spiritual connection. I actually relate most of my healing to finding spirituality, falling deeply in love with myself, thus finding my life purpose. But everything was connected to energy and spirituality. And one day when I was deeply in a pit of tar of feeling hopeless, I was at a coffee shop, and they have these books put aside, just sitting there in a pile. And on the very top of it, with conversation with angels. And of course, I didn't know anything about Emanuel Swedenborg, but I feel like we get signs from our spiritual community, and I actually kind of saw the angel on the cover kind of like light up. So I went over and I asked them, these are for us to use. And they said, you can have it. And I went home, and that was my first, and it really helped me that moment, knowing that angels existed and that I wasn't alone in this world, because I felt so alone. And now I have this whole guidance system that was actually cheering me on. It really helped me in those moments. So it kind of started my spiritual journey, that I could relate that to. And then the second thing was that I believe you guys are a nonprofit. And I just felt like this time around with this kind of book, we needed, because we're here to save lives, that it needed to be with a nonprofit. It needed to have this pure, organic, absolute commitment to serving the community and helping people, because that's what this needs. And so I felt like that was another great fit. And the third fit is that Emanuel Swedenborg himself communicates with me through channeling, and he tells me that he's available to everybody to communicate with, and believe him when you talk to him. And so I felt like he was sitting right next to me and being a part of this expression. And it was really a beautiful experience for me.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing all those details, because they're pretty personal. And I didn't know about the contact with Swedenborg and the whole story of finding the book. So that's cool. And I'm glad everything kind of clicked into place for you there.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's get back to suicidal ideation. You had mentioned what you think maybe started it for you, that you had suffered some abuse when you were younger. In general, are there multiple causes for what causes suicidal ideation?
Well, it's a wide spectrum, but I spiritually, it's the identity that you want to shed that is not really working for you, and you want to kill or have that part of you die so bad, and that's the identity, the spiritual identity, the life that you're living. But you sometimes don't completely realize that you can shed that part of you, but you don't have to shed the physical body. So that's more of the spiritual answer. So that's the message that we're trying to get out, is that please do not make a permanent decision on a temporary problem, because you can take that identity that you want and you can actually manifest that. You can actually get the life that you want. And there's different steps, and that's what we outline in the book. And it's different for everybody. It could be trauma. It could be PTSD, coming back from the war. It could just be, say, childhood neglect. There's a lot of science out there. If the real life testing science research, where if a child hasn't been picked up or hasn't been mothered, has been neglected, that they're going to develop differently. What happens is, as a child, if you will develop things to survive, because when you're a kid, just trying to live. But as an adult, those same things that saved you when you were a child are now hurting your adult relationships. They're patterns that we have to heal. There's wounds that we have to heal, so we can get to the point where, we're manifesting the life that we prefer to live.
Yeah, wow. A lot of good advice. I know the book is full of steps that you can take to try to slow this or calm it. How do you feel like the suicidal ideation is pretty rare, or is it something that a lot of people struggle with? How common would you say suicidal ideation is?
So we only have the stats, obviously, on the people that have unalived themselves or have had an attempt, right? In America, it's 1 in every 11 minutes that we lose somebody. In America alone, that's 132 people a day. 50,000 people a year in America only. Almost 1 million people a year is what I'm hearing is a worldwide number. It is a public health epidemic. That's just the people that we know that have chosen to unalive themselves. Then you have attempts. 80% of the people that unalive themselves are male, but more females attempt. So it is an equal balance of between genders across the board having this affliction. There's the numbers of people who are in action and planning is also really high. We don't know what the numbers of suicidal ideation are, but we're estimating it could be anywhere up to 90% of the population that have either have had a suicidal thought or are currently in suicidal. I mean, we just don't know, because it's stigmatized and people are afraid to use services or to contact our doctors. 45% of people who unalive themselves in America saw their primary doctor a month before they did it. So it's proof. That's proof. Those are numbers that shows that the one person that can actually help them, they don't feel safe enough. And that's the reason why we had to create this book, because as we intellectualize what is happening, we can bring some levity towards it. We can destigmatize and have resources where people can feel safe. The hardest thing to do when you're feeling in a pit of tar is to go to the internet and get help. And then you have all these barriers, which are, getting a doctor's appointment. They might not be able to see you for 2 months. You might not have the right insurance. So as a community, there's a lot of money that's available that I see on all kinds of other programs, space programs, whatever else we're doing, which are all great. But we need to come back to tribe, and we need to start helping and protecting our people, because the age range that's growing the fastest right now, and you'll see my voice start to change, because I am, absolutely, passionately, energetically wanting to state that the fastest age range is 10 to 14 right now. And they are mimicking from adults. And so the adults have to take this very seriously, create program solutions and resources to get to everybody right now. And why I like the book is if you don't want to tell a single soul, obviously a lot of people you can take this and do the work at home alone until you feel good enough to start to share it. Because as you start to work the program, you bring levity to it. You start to understand that you're not alone. You start to see that there are phases and that you can get through it to the other side. You start to maybe connect with spirit and yourself. And once you start to see your spirit again, then you realize how unique and special and beautiful, and that you are here for a reason. And that part of you starts to lighten up, and your path starts to open up.
Yeah. I had a friend who took his own life maybe a decade ago or more now. But I remember having a similar thought when you mentioned the space programs and the amount of money and resources we can put towards certain things. For me, I was driving down I-95 and I saw the Philadelphia Eagles stadium. And I just thought, there's so much money going to make football something people can enjoy, but we couldn't figure out how to save my friend. So I do agree this is something that people need to pay more attention to, that people need to be able to talk about. I wonder if one reason why people have trouble even starting addressing it is they feel like there's not hope in that situation. So I'm wondering, can it ever go away? Like, if you have suicidal ideation, can it be cured? Do people have hope that they can have that be something in their past?
Absolutely. It's my number one clarion call that I tell everybody. And people that are suffering need to know this. And you just got to the core of why I'm doing this. It can go away forever, 100%. And I'm proof of it. I can't even contemplate a negative thought about myself. Of course I have bad days. Of course I have triggers. Of course I have all kinds of stuff still. I have PTSD. I have all this stuff. But I have a toolkit now. And whenever those conflicts come to me, I just pull out my toolkit, what I need. I calm down. I breathe. I put on music. I deal with things differently. But the one thing I never do is I self-blame, and I go into a place of self-hatred. And that is where people go to when they want to do this. They feel unworthy. They feel they do not love themselves. When you love yourself, you don't want to stub your toe. You know what I mean? Not along like do something else. You want to care for yourself. You want to put in good food. You want to surround yourself with people that love you, because you put yourself first. No matter what's going on in your life, no matter what the background, no matter what your story, all of it's valid too, by the way, everybody's story. But when you love yourself that much, there's something that will just switch off. I'm telling you, I had one of the worst years of my life last year in terms of situational things that happened to me. I mean, literally lost all my money, had a bunch of stuff stolen, I had nowhere to live. I mean, I got this book deal right in the middle of it. And that gave me, I went to my spirit so deeply that said, you are not only getting through this, you're thriving, and you're never talking bad about yourself. I never would let myself. So I needed to go through that before this book came out, that I can clearly say, I believe 100% that this can be healed, but you have to do the work. It's almost like you have to rewire the way that you talk to yourself. And only you know what's going to resonate with you. That's why we have that's why we have the Swedenborg Foundation. They have a spiritual thing. That's why we have a doctor who is a clinician for the people that need to see the intellectual side. And that's why you have my story saying, yeah, and you can get through this. But that's why we've made, and it was difficult to combine all these voices, right? And to make it a coherent thing. But I knew that we could do it. And I'm really proud of this book that's coming out. And the goal is to change the numbers. They got to go down. We have to see them coming down.
Well, your passion for the subject is obvious and it's contagious. So I'm glad that you're going to get to take something that was hard for you and turn it into a strength and help other people out of what maybe they're struggling with the same thing. The book for everyone out there, again, is Surviving Suicidal Ideation, From Therapy to Spirituality and the Lived Experience. My guest is Gina Cavalier. Gina, thank you so much for sharing your heart, your passion, and your knowledge with us.
Oh, thank you. And I am just so honored for anybody who has had the time to take to listen, to co-create this energetic experience with us. And just know that, we are here for you guys and sending you all the love and anything that you need. Please reach out to us.